Okay, so this is the Winchester brothers from Supernatural. And this is my fishing hat. Let's see. I've got some scruff going on, okay? So I'm not wearing a business suit today. Let's talk about. Someone wants me to talk about something that I'm not ready to talk about right now. Someone wants me to do things that I don't want to do. This someone is continually looking for nothing at all. It's mostly, it's not a game of 20 questions. It's more of a game of look at this, look at that, look at this. It's like taking your attention. It's like, this is the game they want to play, is pull your attention away from what you need to be focusing on. Like maybe you're driving your car and you want to focus on your driving. And this person is constantly saying, change the radio station. It's too hot, turn up the heat, turn down the heat. It's too cold, turn up the heat. And then they're constantly talking to you about other things. Go look over here. Oh, you forgot something at home. And the person is doing it on purpose. They're doing it on purpose, maybe to cause a car accident, because they don't care about your personal well-being. They also like the attention, and basically, well, the old saying from different places is where attention goes, energy flows. And it's not even that they want the energy to come to themselves. It's basically they want you to be their slave. They want to be the puppet master, and you are going to be their puppet. So, in other words, you're a zombie or a duppy for this person. And is it juvenile? No, it's beyond juvenile. It's not a child's play thing. It's deeply seated, rooted in not needing other people. So these kind of beings are, they are, they have the ability to not only influence you and do whatever they want to you, but they want to say the illusion that you can't get to them. Is it really an illusion that you can't get to them, or you can't get to them? I think it's a trick. More than ever, if you were going to look for a human example of this kind of person, we're going to go with mostly I. It's not even the egoic I, it's like, I, and I'm an ego. It's mostly to do with, a person that is simple-minded. So if you think of someone who is very, what they used to call mentally retarded. No, they're trying to give me an example. I don't have a good example other than someone who is, no. It's not going to come. It's not going to come. So we're talking about beings that like to play capitalism. In other words, a game where winner takes all. So if we're going to get to the root of what it is that drives capitalists, it's still a big rear view mirror kind of problem. It's still a big problem because if you're driving down the highway but you're constantly looking in the rear view mirror, you don't drive that way. Unless you're in reverse. But assume you're traveling forward, but you're always looking in the rear view mirror. Or even worse, you're turning around and you're looking over your shoulder out the back window while you're driving forward. And you're doing it on purpose. Why? Because you're intentionally blinding yourself. Because you just have the option to do it. It is like that jackass group that does stupid things for fun. Are they doing it for fun? Could be. It's mostly just because it's an option to be a jerk. And if there's an option to be a jerk, I'm going to pick it. Not just one time, it's going to be my permanent identity. I am the jerk on purpose. And if I get laughs, I don't even think it's so much about the result. It's just, this is an identity. It's like an archetype, the jerk. Everyone knows one. There's one in every crowd. Someone who is known to be the jerk. Disruptive on purpose because that's what comes with being the jerk. If the role of the jerk is not fulfilled, then we're missing out on something. Do we need the jerk? Apparently, in this person's view, everyone needs a jerk in their life, and they're going to be it. It's a constant refrain in capitalism, being the jerk. It's like the used car salesman, greasy, slimy. Many other examples. Why is it a jerk? Because it's the energy of the jerk. You know, it's like, if you're in a public school, there's always the class clown. That's jerkish. And, you know, you might get a couple of laughs, but mostly it's attention seeking. And what is the root cause of attention seeking? Besides just being an ego, everyone's got one and everyone does like a bit of attention. But it's more than being that. It's more to do with there is a designated teacher in the class, and I'm one of the students, and I'm not willing to be a student. Maybe it's because you're forced to go to public school. And it's like, you know, I didn't volunteer to go to school. I don't know what good it's going to do me. And even if there's good, I don't want it. I just have the feeling that I'm being forced to go to some school. And there's a myriad of other things I can do. I can go play in the lane. I go play baseball. I can go to Timbuktu. But I'm being forced by someone, adult, who is saying, no, we know best for you because you're a minor. So it's basically a revolt. It's a revolt against authority. It's authority that you didn't put in place, but you're forced to buckle under to. So what is the lesson of the jerk? Is it the lesson that compulsory schooling is somehow wrong? Well, we all know if people don't get any schooling, what do we know about that? A country without any schooling, well, and people are going to learn what they're going to learn in the street. So they're going to be street smart. And, maybe these people, are they going to learn how to read if they don't go to school? I'm not going to say that they're not going to be able to do these things. Because you don't need a school in order to learn how to read. You don't need a school to learn mathematics. Helen Keller, the famous deaf, mute, blind person, learned to talk and communicate with other humans. Well, she probably was at a special needs school, but still, how could that happen? A traditional teacher would shake their head and say, how are you going to get information into this person? I think with Helen Keller, it was mostly the teachers were using the sense of feel. But I'm going to tell you some other ideas that I've got. Not about the jerk. We're going to leave the jerk and we're going to move on to the next item. And that is still having to do with force. Compulsory service, for example. Why do we have these compulsory laws? It is getting ridiculous in our world the number of compulsory laws. You pretty much have to go to a never-ending school to keep up with the constant stream of laws and the interpretations of the laws. We are way too much. Let's just pass a law. We have got way too many laws. Way too many laws, and no one is going around with law reform and stripping away the old laws that don't work. And the way that our society works is that there is a small elite group that are the politicians, and the politicians don't even draft the laws. They hire lawyers in their government ministries, or they outsource it to lawyers to write the laws. And, if you read these statutes, you have to have a very high level of reading comprehension to really understand what the hell they're saying. So that's why we've got this privileged group called lawyers who have to do all this stuff for us, because we look at it and we go, and we feel pissed off. It's like, you can't even write this in plain English, and then you force it on me, and you force me to spend my hard-earned money on very expensive shyster lawyers to interpret these laws. And then, so you hire your lawyer, and then you've got to go to another shyster lawyer who's, the judge, to get a ruling after your lawyer, who you paid a lot, said this is the way it's going to go. Then the other lawyer said, no, it's not going to go that way. And then, then you can keep appealing to more and more things until you come to ultimately where the last judge refuses to hear your case, and you're stuck. This is the problem with the society based on laws. And everyone says, well, we still need to have organization in our society because otherwise there's anarchy. And people's idea of anarchy is, 4 cars come to an intersection, one from north, one from east, south, and whatever, did I miss one? And they all come from the 4 corners, the 4 directions, and they arrive at the intersection at the same time. There's no 4-way stop, there's no stop signs. It's they all arrive there. And they're all going 60 miles an hour. So what the hell happens? Without a control on the intersection, you're going to have 4 cars bashing into each other at 60 miles an hour. And that's what people think with anarchy. They say, this isn't going to work. So we have to have street lights or a 4-way stop or a traffic cop standing there. Someone says, well, you could have an overpass or something. Like a clover leaf or something. That's an interesting one. Because if you've got that clover leaf type of intersection, then you can continue on your way. Because you could design it to get going in every direction without having to stop. This leads to the idea of dimensions. In other words, instead of having one plane where all four cars come to the intersection and they're all on the same plane, so that something has to happen, in other words, two of the cars have to stop so the other two can go in one direction, what happens with streetlights. But if you've got divided by levels, then, some of them can go back this way, some of them can be up here and go this way, and then there's connectors to go and take you up and down. So getting back to being forced to compulsory things and the series of laws, is it an archaic way of organizing our society? It was back in the days of horse and buggy, and they didn't have superhighways. So how do we make a jump so that we can eliminate laws that keep us organized by just having better organization built into our systems? And then people always throw, well, we still have to have laws against incredible abuses of power called things like rape and murder. And they want treason in there because these are the capital offenses that typically, in Earth's history were the ones that were punishable by death. But if you have well-organized society and well-organized humans, what are you going to do? I mean, even now with these laws against these capital crimes, they still occur. So just having the law doesn't stop them. This idea that somehow people knowing there's a penalty, well, sometimes people are going to say, I was mentally ill and I just couldn't stop it. Even, I knew about the penalty or I didn't know the penalty. It didn't matter at the time. I couldn't stop myself. Or the jerk is going to say, yeah, I knew all about it. And I knew I was going to go and be hung or whatever, but it was an option. And, it's my life. I'm going to live it my way. I'm going to do death by cop. I'm going to do a shooting rampage and wait for the police snipers to take me out. Not because I'm suicidal, it's just because I'm bored and I just want something new. This is the jerk. So it gets back to, someone wants to say personality problems. Yes, personality problems. And where do these personality traits come from? All right. I'm going to tell you, someone says it comes from like archetypes in the collective unconscious. It's, things that mythological beginnings to sentient beings. Sentient means self-aware beings. Anyway, I can't continue to go on about this topic. I'm going to have to drop it. Because in the end, we don't have all night to talk about it. And the solution is going to be, we have to reorganize. We have to reform. What are we going to reform? Everything. And I know everyone says, well, Bob Frizzell, you're a utopian. And there's been utopians on the planet forever. And we've never had a utopia. What we have today is the exact opposite. We've got dystopia for 99% of the people. And even with the 1% who think that they've got a utopia, they still get disease and they're still pretty much unhappy. So even having money doesn't guarantee you happiness. You can't buy happiness. You can't buy love. Reorganization of the human is going to be a big project. 10,000 lifetimes, question mark. No, it's more like right in the now moment. This now moment or the one, like 3 years down the road. What now moment is it going to be reorganized? It's not the right question. The question is not when. The question is not a question. It is simply the directive. Reorganize, human. And if you've got jerks that say, I'm not going to take a forced reorganization, this leads to these strange ideas that are popping around on things like YouTube on the internet, where certain commentators who are into these ideas of 5D, which is the fifth dimension, which first came to our human consciousness in the late 1960s with the band called The Fifth Dimension and their song The Age of Aquarius. The idea that we are leaving the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, which is of a different quality. So people have got all these books about 5D, etc., etc. And some of the commentators say, well, some of the humans are waking up from a deep slumber, which is basically being asleep in the Piscean age, and they're waking up to this Aquarian age, where they're getting a more broader mind, they're getting just more intelligence, more is coming online for them. And then there's a whole pile of sleepers who are still back in what they call 3D, which is, Piscean. It's basically, what you would find, well, human history as we know it is 3D. Well, unless you go way back to the ancient mythology of things like Atlantis, because there are these ancient civilizations, some of them are unnamed. David Wilcock might call them like the ancient builder race. Where does it all happen? Some of these commentators say there's going to be a great split in reality where certain humans are going to continue along in the Piscean age in 3D, and other ones are going to go off and live in 5D. A bifurcation, they call it, a great splitting. And some of them are going to say, well, it's your higher self that decides whether you're going to wake up into 5D or continue to sleep along in 3D. Those are just some of the commentators. Other ones say, well, it's just like popcorn popping. You take a bag of popcorn, put it in the microwave. Sooner or later, the first few kernels pop. And, you keep waiting, and then you get a whole pile of, way more than at the beginning that go pop in the middle. And then it trails off to the end. And then if you keep the heat on, the last ones don't pop. And if you keep the heat on, then everything burns. So that's the way it goes. Some kernels, I don't know, unless you've got some special test that you can say all of these kernels are going to pop. And I don't know. Every time I've cooked popcorn in the microwave, there's always some of them that don't pop. So perhaps those are the ones, the higher selves say they're never going to wake up into the fifth dimension 5D. They're going to go on their own way being unpopped kernels. So I guess that's it. If that's the way it is, then some of these beings are going to act like the jerk. They're going to stay 3D. And to all the rest of us that are going to 5D, it's like we got a toxic jerk on our hands. And how are we going to handle them? Most people that are, the recognized authorities say they're all part of the creation. So, that's the way they are. Accept them, don't judge them. An opposing view is going to be judge them. And with your judgment, what are you going to do? Is it going to be like eugenics? Like what they did in, the 1940s, where in Nazi Germany, they decided certain of you are not worthy to live. And so you're going to be sent to the gas chamber. Eugenics. That's what judgment is. Or you're just going to judge them as being, well, we can't do anything for you. They themselves can't do anything for you. We just judge you as going to be needing a lot of help. And if you're dangerous, then we're going to have to lock you up. And if you're dangerous and you've got psychic powers, well, we've seen these in certain horror movies. Stephen King's book, there was like the different characters that were psychopathic and had superpowers, like mental powers to get into other people's minds and screw with them. Is it a 5D phenomenon? It's like you've got superpowers that come online, but you've got arrested development. You're still in grade 7 and you're the jerk. So what is the rest of the people that look at the jerk who is using their special powers to hassle, other beings? What do you want to do with these things? These beings at their core are the same as everyone else. They're a spot of awareness. And attached to the spot of awareness is a mental body. And the mental body is full of ideas and able to pick ideas. There's an emotional body which puts a charge on these ideas. And so what can you do? Well, some of them say if you got a really bad apple, they say you send it to the Great Central Sun for recycling, where basically they strip away the emotional body and the mental body, which is full of all the garbages that make the person a real shit. And all that's left is their awareness, empty blank awareness, without any nasty mental body and nasty emotional body. They say it's done at the I don't know what the hell a Great Central Sun is, but this is what's been talked about way back in like the late 1800s with Madame Blavatsky and Leadbeater and Alice Bailey. They talked about this Great Central Sun. I don't know what the hell they mean. Is it the Great Central Sun where? Is it in our dimension? Is it in the middle of our galaxy? I don't understand it. But anyway, that's what they grab onto, and they said that's where it's done. And the Great Central Sun, if you got a really bad apple, it goes there, and all this garbage gets ripped off the awareness, and then the awareness is set on a new path. It's basically reset from start. So does the awareness itself die? I don't think in this case it does. I think the awareness is just given new emotional and mental bodies. And some people say, well, you start off as maybe being a rock or being a plant or an ant or something, and then you would progress over multiple lifetimes until you finally get back into a human form or something, which is said to be the highest form of intelligence on planet Earth. Is it? I don't think it is. I think there's higher forms of intelligence than human associated with Gaia, the complex of beings that are, this conglomeration of souls, some people say. But I'm not going to name them because I just think that there are more wise beings than the wisest human. Am I one of them? No, but I think I do get in touch with them from time to time. Just for my purposes, I'm going to say they're not me. They're not my mental body. They're not my awareness, and they're not my emotional body. So, but they can connect with me. And can they connect with these bad apples? Yes. And are they going to look at, oh yes. I think that's one of their biggest jobs, is looking at bad apples and seeing what needs to be done. And what they do is, before they send them to the great central sun to strip away their existing emotional and mental bodies, they look to see if they can be in repair. Fixed. Fix it, fix it, fix it. So does anyone ever go to the great central sun? The answer is, it's been done. But I think it's a last resort. And I think they always regret sending someone to the great central sun, because these beings have evolved to the level where they're the jerk. And, if you lose this personality, everyone loses. It's not necessarily losing the jerk that nobody wants, but the personality has got other aspects of themselves that get lost along the way. And part of the richness of our lives is having so many diverse personalities. And you lose one, and we've really lost. I'm going to be Harry Weaver.